everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, the Countdown to ETAs. We're excited to have you all here today. My name is Michelle. I'm just here to get things started before I pass the mic over to our presenter, Mark. So for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we're a search marketing software provider, and we have free and paid tools that can help you easily grow your AdWords, Bing, and Facebook campaigns. So if you're looking to master paid search, definitely check out our PPC University at wordstream.com/learn. And just some logistics before we get started today. We will be sending you a recorded version of the webinar after we complete today, so take a look in your email for that. We also encourage you to be social and join in on the conversation on Twitter, and we have Mark's handle right there for you. It'll also be at the bottom of the slides throughout the presentation. And then finally, we will be saving time for some Q&A at the end of the webinar. Mark is here to answer all of your questions, so don't be shy. Submit those questions throughout, and we will definitely get to them. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our presenter today. Mark is a senior data scientist at WordStream. He has 4 years of paid search experience, and he was recently voted the 14th most influential PPC expert of 2016. So we're super excited to have Mark with us, and with that, I will pass it off to him.
Thanks, Michelle. So, obviously, thank you all for coming today. ETAs. What's the big deal? Why have we been promoting this webinar? Why are you here today? And why is it something that, we're talking about so frequently, so often in the industry right now? And so, in case you're new to paid search or been away for a while and you're getting back in the swing of things, welcome back. You may be familiar with these ads. These are the standard text ads that you've been writing for the past 16 years of paid search. I know that when I first started in the industry 4 years ago, we learned this haiku to remember paid search ads. And you had that 25-character headline, 2 lines of 35-character description text, a display URL of 35 characters, and that's how you would create your ads. And they looked exactly like this. You're all familiar with them if you do paid search at all. But recently, in July, I believe July 28th, Google introduced this brand new expanded text ad format. And it looks a little bit more like this. And so now we see, first of all, it's a different ad format, but it's also a larger ad format. For the longest time, people were saying that, hey, these 90 characters, these short haiku of an ad, was a little too small for me to say everything that I wanted to say to people who are searching for me. I want to talk more about my product. I want to talk more about my offers. After 16 years, Google listened, and it provided us with a longer headline. We now have a 30-character limit, which is 5 characters more. So we can say a little bit more in that headline. Additionally, there's a new second headline, also 30 characters long. So we have the opportunity to say more within the headline of our text to begin with. Our display URL is no longer just a 35-character display URL. It automatically ports in our domain name and gives the option to add 2 15-character URL paths to that display URL. And then finally, that description text, or those 2 lines of description text, now becomes one long box of description. 80 characters in total length now, as opposed to the 70 characters from before. So we gain 10 characters there as well. So all said and done, when we talk about these new expanded text ads, the reason they're a big deal is because they're actually bigger. They're 47% bigger altogether compared to the 90-character standard text ads that we've been using for a long time. And when you look at them on the SERP, obviously more text gives you more ability to say things, and they physically take more space on the SERP. So when you put an expanded text ad on the SERP alongside a standard text ad that people have been running for the past 16 years, very simply, which of the 2 would you click on? You're much more likely to click on the expanded text ad just because it's physically larger, or because it's saying more and it's saying more relevant things to interest people who are searching. And we are seeing that in people's accounts. as a result. People who create expanded text ads are seeing on average a median of 28% increased click-through rate from their new expanded text ads as opposed to their older, smaller standard text ads. There are some people out there who are seeing gains of double or triple or quadruple that click-through rate, but in general, we're seeing that the typical advertiser, when they make this transition, when they introduce an expanded text ad to their ad group, it's considerably outperforming, and it's outperforming in that gain of about 20 to 30% click-through rate. So obviously, there's a lot of great things to say about ETAs. In a big sense, we've been asking for them for a long time. When they were first announced, before people had them, everyone was crawling to Google asking to just get a couple of people in with expanded text ads. When it was made available in July, people were ecstatic to get them. So what's the catch? Why are we still talking about it? And so the big reason why it's a conversation point today is that our standard ads are all going to disappear soon. So I know over my career, I've probably created genuinely tens of thousands of these standard text ads over the course of the years I've been working here and in past agencies. And I'm sure in your account, if it's old enough, you probably have considerably more data on your standard text ads than you do on your expanded text ads. You have a lot more experience writing those standard text ads. And pretty soon, they're going to become a thing of the past. And so specifically, the data mark on your calendars, and feel free, open up Outlook, open up iCal, write a Post-it note right now. That day is January 31st, 2017. So 7 weeks from now, effectively, is going to be your last day to create new standard text ads or to edit existing standard text ads. Starting February 1st of next year. So that's, again, just 7 weeks away. Every text ad you create or every text ad you change in your account is going to be this new expanded text ad format. And so that has a lot of impacts on how you manage your day-to-day, particularly if you're an agency or if you're a larger advertiser. Things that you do that are routine or things that you have been doing for the last 16 years are no longer going to be possible come February 1st. So for instance, if you were an advertiser and you're running a sale throughout the month of January, traditionally, if you want to update your ads February 1st to reflect that new change, if this save 20% sale in January stops running, and on February 1st you want to just change that ad text, previously you were able to just go in, make that change. It would take you generally a few minutes to change all of your standard text ads to be standard text ads that said something slightly different. And this would be something that you could do in genuinely a few minutes. Just find and replace that one line of text and change it out. But as of February 1st, you can't do that anymore. So if your sale ends at the end of January, the morning of February 1st, when you go in to make those changes, you're going to need to write a brand new ad in a brand new ad format. And not only are you going to need to change that line of text you were hoping to change, but you're also going to need to add new elements to that ad to fit that new ad format. So here we'd have to write in a new second headline for all the ads that we look to change. So I'm not sure about you, but I'm not particularly excited to literally rewrite every ad in my account the morning of February 1st. And so that's kind of a big reason of what we're talking about today. So with that, we know that ETAs are going to be a thing, that our standard text ads, we have exactly 7 weeks left to work with them. So that's why I'm making a call to plan your ETA migration now. You don't want to be left in the dark, you don't want to lose time on this, and you really don't want to fumble with this in early February when you have a clock on your head to make sure that your ads are all ETAs. So what I want to do is I want to treat this just like you would a New Year's resolution. So the only difference is I want to start it a little bit today. We have 7 weeks. I want to make sure that we allocate enough time for it, but I more importantly want to make sure that we're successful in the migration. And so when you talk about New Year's resolutions, what's the most popular New Year's resolution? It's to get in shape, start going to the gym, lose weight, train for that marathon. And I know this all too well. I've been training for the same half marathon for the past 3 years. But naturally what happens when you start doing a New Year's resolution like this is January 1st, you go to the gym. Or maybe not January 1st. You might be a little hungover January 1st. But January 2nd, you go to the gym and you work out hard. You run a whole lot, you lift a lot, you try this machine you've never tried, you try that machine, and you go back to 3rd, and you go back to 4th, and you go back to 5th. And you really work hard for a week, and you try new things, and you're trying things that you've never done before. And then the following week, you find all these things that you've tried. Ooh, man, it hurts, and you're not doing particularly well with it. You've lost a lot of energy, you've pulled a lot of muscles, you've strained a lot of things. And you potentially could do the same thing with this New Year's resolution to create ETAs as well. As you do new things, you may hurt things in your account. So I want to create a plan for you. That's the first thing that you're going to do when you go to the gym. If you're successful, you likely are going to meet with a personal trainer. And they're going to devise a plan for you so that you can gradually ramp up so that you can hit your goals and that you don't lose focus over time and that it's something that can grow with you and that you're successful in the long term. We're going to do the exact same thing for you as you fulfill your New Year's resolution to migrate to ETAs. It's new. If you haven't done it yet, then welcome. Let's open our calendars and just mark these days out. So today, showing up is half the battle. Thank you all for showing up. I really appreciate it. It would be awkward if I was doing this webinar just for myself, if I was just in a room talking to myself. So thank you. Learn a lot, take notes. Please follow me on Twitter. Please ask questions in Q&A. We're here to help. Then the rest of the week, all I want you to do is I want to look at your existing ad copy and study the best performing ads. Identify which messages perform well in your ads and really take note of that. There are a number of tools out there to help you identify your best performing ads. We have a tool, the AdWords Grader, is going to be able to identify your best performing ads and give you that insight. But if you want to go into the AdWords interface yourself, do some Excel work, whatever you're looking for, please go in. This week, I want you to see what's working well in your best performing ads. And then Monday, this coming Monday, I just want you to create 5 ETAs in your accounts. Look at your top performing ad groups and create 5 new ETAs in that. And so I always say to launch something new on Monday so that you're in the office for the rest of the week. You can see them get approved. You can see them get disapproved if that happens. And you can adjust throughout the course of the week. So if something goes haywire, you're there to see and correct it. The next week, next Monday, after they've been running for a full week and have a little bit of data, see exactly how they performed versus your standard text ads. Are you surprised? Did one of your messages that worked well on standard text ads not work well? Really take some time on Monday after a week of data to make some adjustments if appropriate. But then once you make those adjustments for those 5, I want you to create 10 more. And we're going to just go through from your most popular ad group down to your next 10 most popular ad groups and really focus on these 15 ETAs now. So after Christmas, review your expanded text ads again, revise if you learn anything new from it, and then we're going to create the 20 next popular ETAs. We're just going to take this very systematically throughout the course of the month. I don't want to create all the ETAs in your account and make it, make your account hurt if something doesn't work right away, but I want to do this very gradually, and I want to focus on our most popular ad groups first. And so all I'm asking for the rest of the year is create 35 new ads. For most people, that shouldn't be a big ask over the course of 15, 17 days left in in the year. And it might feel that creating just 5 or 10 or 20 ads isn't going to be enough, that you, of course, have a large account and you have to make ads for you have to make ETAs for all of those ad groups down the line. But if you focus on your most popular or your most clicked on ad groups first, you're going to find that those 5 or those 10 or that small number of ad groups is going to result in the largest changes in your account. That when you look at, here I'm looking at 500,000 ad groups in our MCC, and we see the fact that 90% of the traffic comes from 10% of the ad groups. So here, it's likely, even if you've got 200, 300, 500, 1,000 ad groups in your particular account, probably there are 5 or 10 or 20 that drive most of the traffic here. So focus on those. And then for the rest of January, just want to gradually, once you get in the hang of it, once you really know how to create a good ETA, you've done some experimenting in December, we just want to roll out more and more ETAs in those ad groups. Really pace yourself depending on how large your account is. I want you to try and plan for Monday, January 23rd as your final day to really be creating new ETAs. So you have a week to adjust and really evaluate to make sure that you're good for February. And as you're doing this, I actually encourage to follow your progress along. That AdWords creator I spoke about, WordStream.com/Google AdWords. Not only is it a great tool to identify your top performing standard text ads, but as you're creating this, it will also now identify your top performing expand text ads. And more importantly, as you focus towards the end of the month and as you focus towards January, as you focus towards completing that migration, it does give you a grade as to how far along you are. Are you 50% through that migration? Are you 70% through that migration? And it will tell you exactly how many ad groups you have left. So you can really use that as a planning tool. I personally use it as a planning tool just because in larger accounts, it's very easy to miss an ad group here or there, and this is going to tell me when I've done that. So by all means, that tool, the WordStream grader, wordstream.com/Google AdWords, completely free. All it's going to do is it's going to sync to your account and it's going to give you a report based off of how well you're doing in terms of this migration. But as you're doing this migration, please don't pause your standard text ads. We know that on average, ETAs perform better, but it's very possible that your ETAs, the first time you do anything, be it expanded text ads or be it running or be it whatever else your New Year's resolutions are, your first go may not be perfect. So keep your standard text ads. If your expanded text ads don't perform better than your standard text ads, then you can learn from that and use that to continue to improve your expanded text ads. Once you're happy with how your expanded text ads perform and you know that they outperform your standard text ads, then you can pause out your standard text ads and just run the expanded ones. But so we know that on average, people are making 20 to 30% gains. A lot of people are seeing double or triple click-through rates from these ETAs as opposed to standard text ads. But there are some people, like I said, that aren't going to be successful their first time around. And so we have a couple of tips on how to manage this migration and make sure that you're not in that group of people who struggle and who fumble in the early stages. And that first tip is to write new ads. Don't just add a second headline. And so this is why we're talking about this 7 weeks in advance. I know that writing new ads, to think of brand new ads and really be creative takes more time than just changing a line or two of text. But please don't just add that second headline in. Take the opportunity to write a new ad in that new ad format. And so this is very easy to do. Google, when they first announced expanded text ads, presented these two ads for Guitar Center. If you read them, you see the fact that really that expanded text ad is just the same standard text ad with a second headline and a couple of more characters added on. And what we're seeing is that people who do this, people who use the space they've been asking for to say more and then don't say more, are actually saying less. And it feels very counterintuitive, but just adding in a nonsense second headline or just adding in words that don't make sense in the context of the overall ad message doesn't improve click-through rate, and in many cases can decrease click-through rates. So really think about it as a new opportunity. If you had to rewrite your ads in this new ad format, now using 140 characters as opposed to 90 characters, what would you say? And so people who have really answered the call and thought about what they've been writing and what they've been saying have done a lot better than people who have just added in that second headline. So I have a client, namely, they do HR software. And I'm not sure about you guys, but HR software isn't something that I objectively find exciting. And it's very difficult to go in there and write an exciting ad about onboarding software in 90 characters. There's very little that you can say to excite someone about that SaaS product or a B2B product in 90 characters. But if you really take yourself out of that 90 character mold and rewrite that ad, they took the opportunity to highlight easy paperless onboarding. Hiring is difficult. Onboarding should be easy. Schedule your demo today. Okay? It brings in a lot of feelings and a lot of value props in that the standard text ad wouldn't traditionally allow due to space concerns. And so what Namely saw is by adding in those value props and talking about writing an effectively brand new ad, they had a 400% higher click-through rate on the expanded text ad than the standard text ad. So really look, how can you creatively redesign your ads? And so here, looking at what a lot of our clients have done is we've looked at a lot of the cliches that you see in standard text ads that people created because they wanted to be relevant, they needed keyword stuff, or just because they had fewer characters to work with. What can you say with those more characters that makes the ad experience better? So someone searching for used textbooks, very often what we'll do in the headline is we'll include something about used textbooks for sale. And we'll just state that thing that they're searching for and throw that back in the ad back at them and hope that it's relevant. That's always been a best practice with standard text ads, but with expanded text ads, we can actually do something like start a conversation. Popular thing, you can make your headline or your first headline a question and your second headline an answer. So it starts a conversation that you won't traditionally get with standard text ads. So rather than just saying use textbooks for sale and hoping that that resonates with people, why pay full price? Buy, use, and save. That this kind of question-answer headline performs considerably better than just a keyword stuffing first headline with standard text ads. People have always used sale ends soon or download today or try now. Very short 10-character, 15-character messages to create that fear of missing out, but it comes off vague and it comes off a little cliche to users who are very used to seeing this stuff. We can use that additional couple of characters that we gain with expanded text ads to create a real fear of missing out, to create a real FOMO. And people who haven't had the opportunity to use a countdown ad, ETAs have the countdown functionality built directly into the ad format. So we can write something that comes out as sale ends in, and then a countdown. And so that countdown is formatted exactly like this. Basically, it won't render like that on the SERP, but what it will show is it will read sale ends in 5 days or sale ends in 4 hours, depending on how soon that countdown ends. So if I wrote this for today at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, it would say sale ends in half an hour. And I wouldn't need to necessarily update that every minute, hour, day. Google would update that for me, and it creates that genuine fear of missing out on a sale or something along those lines. And we see higher click-through rates with it as a result. And then also, we've always, including a call to action or ads has always been a best practice. It's always been better than not including a call to action, but we often rely on kind of meaningless call to actions of check us out, free trial, learn more, download a white paper, things that you've just had to add in that ad to create that call to action, but you've never been able to say a whole lot more due to character restraints. We can use those additional characters to highlight those unique value props instead. So rather than just saying free trial onboarding software, namely, for instance, said easy paperless onboarding anywhere, anytime, and then offered that free trial. So it still allows them to include that value prop, but it gives weight to that value, to that call to action, as opposed to just click on my ad, do this thing, please. So second tip we're going to say, obviously being relevant is important. Use top keywords in the new path fields. So these path fields that you see in expanded text ads, they are actually 100% optional, but use them. Well, first of all, it's just another opportunity for you to keyword stuff, to include a relevant keyword to user search so that Google recognizes that your ad is relevant to user search intent and consequently gives you a better quality score. But also, users are specifically looking for a match when they're doing a search on Google. Someone who's searching for used books on Google wants to see an ad for used books on Google and be taken to a landing page about used books. So including these keyword paths not only is a win for Google, but it's also a win for your users as well. And so a big win in just adding keywords to the URL paths here, that you can create a static one. If you knew your top keywords, by all means, load them up here. If you wanted to, you could also create a keyword insertion and just have Google put in the keyword that triggered the ad into those path fields as well. And that's going to do you well. It's going to save you a lot of having to rewrite different ads depending on what someone is searching for. So absolutely include top keywords in those URL paths. I know that those URL paths are new and that they're optional and you don't need to include anything there, particularly as we talk about migrating. It's easy to not, but fastest way to improve click-through rate, fastest way to improve quality score here is to add that keyword to that path field. You'll be glad you did. Third thing is we can actually use ad customizers to create mobile preferred ETAs. And so this has been actually, if there's one grievance I've heard more than anything else when people announced ETAs, it's that for the longest time when we were creating standard text ads, we could specify a device preference. You would just check that mobile device preference and you could create an ad that would only run on mobile. And you could use messaging like call now or download our app as opposed to download our white paper, something that spoke to a mobile user differently than someone who spoke to a desktop user. That likely you have different call to actions, you have different websites you're sending mobile traffic, you're trying to get them to download an app or something along those lines for mobile users as opposed to desktop users. But when you looked at how expanded text ads were launched, most notably missing from the experience is that there's nowhere to specify that device preference to create a mobile preferred ETA. That right now, if you were to create an expanded text ad, that expanded text ad will read the same on all devices. So what do we do about it? Well, Google's actually been very quiet on the matter, but a couple of smart people out there have discovered that there's a secret to creating mobile ETAs. And so where it takes you, if I take you behind the curtain, is in your shared library. You click on business data. You have the opportunity to upload ad customizer data specifically for mobile ETAs. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a feed for ad customizers. We're going to name it something like mobile ETAs. And basically what a feed is it's just an Excel spreadsheet or a Google spreadsheet. We're going to specify the headline, the target campaign, the target ad group. But here we're just going to specify different headlines for different device preferences. So our all device preferences will show on desktop and tablet, and our mobile device preference will only show on mobile searches. So here, if I wanted to get people who are on their mobile phone to call me as opposed to people on my desktop to click through and get a free quote, what I would do is I just change that headline in that business feed, and then I'd reference it, that business feed, when I'm creating my actual expanded text ads. So if I reference, the syntax is here, bracket equals the data feed name, which I here called mobile ETAs, and then the attribute name, which is just that headline one. And so what it's going to do is Google will dynamically render that headline depending on that device preference. So that device preference, it still lives within Google. Google still recognizes device reference in the API, but it's not available in the front end when you're creating these expanded text ads. If mobile is big for you, and mobile's big for most people now, mobile is about 60% of all web traffic out there. If mobile is big for you and you really still need to cater your message to mobile users differently, then this is the secret to doing so. So check it out, get comfortable. Ad customizers are super fascinating all around, but this is a good place to start. And the fourth thing I'm going to have you do is revisit your ad extensions. And this might seem a little out of character when we're talking about expanded text ads, but likely your ad extensions were created a while ago. When you create your site links, you created them because you wanted to say more, you wanted to offer more than your standard text ads could provide, likely due to the fact that you couldn't include everything in your expanded text ads. But when you create expanded text ads, naturally, as you say more, you're going to start looking for those value props, and they may be the same value props that you already included in your ad extensions. So including things in your, as you add more things to your expanded text ads, you run the risk of those just being repeated by your ad extensions, particularly your site links or your callout extensions or something like that. And unfortunately, Google won't serve redundant or repetitive ad extensions as a rule of thumb. So as you add new offers, or as you add new call to actions, or as you add more information to your expanded text ads from your standard text ads, you run the risk of saying the same thing that your site links will do. And what Google will do is it will not serve those site links with those expanded text ads. So if you're currently writing new expanded text ads, you're seeing them take off and do well, you still need to go back and revisit your site links, revisit your callout extensions, revisit all of your offers in your ad extensions, and make sure that you're not being repetitive there, because you do have the chance of preventing yourself from showing for all of your ad extensions. Ad extensions also an important part of quality score, an important part of click-through rate, and just an important part of writing a good ad too. So this may be a bigger project than just writing new ads. You may also need to go through and write new ad extensions as well. And then finally, I know I'm guilty of this at times, that you forget to follow through and do Bing as well. But don't forget about Bing. Bing recently, mid-October I believe, rolled out expanded text ads as well. And actually, rolling them out, Bing, what we discovered in our accounts that we're using expanded text ads on Bing, is that the performance difference between standard text ads and expanded text ads was in fact better on Bing than it was on Google. That Bing still has the right-hand rail ads, and particularly in those lower positions, advertisers with the expanded text ads do a considerably better job than they do on Google, where those ads would be pushed further down on the SERP. So there's a lot to be said about making sure that you follow through and you complete this process on Bing. Bing's giving you a little bit more time to make that migration. So we have the ability to really test out, figure out what's working in Google first, and then straight up import those expanded text ads directly in Bing through their interface. So migrating Bing should be easy. So hopefully all of that's useful, and you can get started planning for ETAs today and making ETAs starting next week. And there is, if all of this is overwhelming and you're just still in love with your standard text ads, there is a cheat that you can use. I don't recommend it, but there is a way that you can effectively keep your standard text ads rolling in the expanded text ad format. It's not beautiful. Again, I'm going to recommend against it, but if you find yourself or that you're not going to be able to complete this by the end of January, this trick may help you get out of a tough position. So when you Google something now and you see a standard text ad, since about April, when they took away the right-hand rail, Google started showing your ad with your domain name, or your standard text ad with your domain name preceding your ad. So you do have the opportunity to create an ETA where your first headline is just your domain name, and then still bring your actual headline into your second headline and combine your description lines into one description text. And that will show, and it will show exactly like it currently shows on Google today. What this means is that it's going to have the exact same click-through rate, it's going to have the exact same conversion rate, and it's going to perform exactly like your old standard text ad. What it won't do is it won't increase your click-through rate. You're not going to see any of these benefits that other advertisers are seeing. But if you find yourself that you're 100%, or your boss is 100%, or your clients are 100% opposed to changing anything about your ads, after 16 years of testing, they're convinced this is the best this could ever get. Why change something that's working? This is technically an option. It's fast, it's quick, it's easy, it won't change anything, but with that, you're not going to get any of the improvements that other people are going to get from creating expanded text ads. But that's just, obviously, expanded text ads are a big thing for all advertisers, but there's just one more thing changing this month, and that's that display ads are changing rapidly too. Specifically, advertisers who still rely on flash ads have some work to do. So Flash is on the way out. It's been on the way out for the last 18 months or so. In July of last year, Firefox stopped supporting any Flash content. In September, when Mac updated their iOS system, Safari stopped supporting Flash content by default. And effective later this month, Google Chrome, the top browser that people use, will stop supporting Flash as well. So you'll see that over the past year, if you've been reliant on Flash ads, you've been losing more and more reach from them. And so by the end of this month, you were talking about 70% of all internet users are not going to see Flash ads. This all leads up to starting next month, Google AdWords will stop running Flash ads altogether on any browser. So even if you believe that your customers are using Internet Explorer, Android devices, or anything like that, and you still have a little bit that you can still work with Flash ads, Google's stopping it. So that means that if you still rely on Flash ads in your campaigns, you need to replace them ASAP. So there are a lot of ways that you can do this. You can create an expanded text ad for your display campaigns. You can create an HTML5 or a static image ad instead of that Flash ad. But if all of that feels like it's a little too tech savvy, I know I'm not a graphic designer. I know I struggle with Photoshop even. Google does have these responsive ads where you can upload simple images or have Google borrow images from your site and cater messages. And this responsive text ad will automatically respond to the size of the user's screen and the size of the ad itself and reformat itself accordingly. And it's very natural. I was able to create this particular ad within literally 30 seconds. All it's going to ask for is going to ask for a long headline and a short headline. Google will automatically resize those headlines as the size of the ad format or as the size of the user's screen allows it. Some description text, an advertiser name, so you should know your name. And it's going to ask for an image and a logo. Please upload an image from your site, or Google can even scrape your site for those images, and a logo. And Google will automatically create these responsive ads. We're seeing pretty good results from these responsive ads, to be honest. They might not, admittedly, they might not look like something that came out of a high-class graphic designer's office, but they're still got very good click-through rates. We're seeing an average of 0.4% click-through rate on these, relative to the typical display ad click-through rate of 0.1. That's considerably better. So, responsive ads, if you find yourself in a pinch as you're making a Flash migration, these are here to answer that call. And so that's a lot to focus on the next couple of months. Obviously, the Flash migration is happening next month, and the ETA migration needs to be completed by the end of January. But hopefully, I've armed you with tools and resources and guidance to get you through it. And if not, I believe Michelle has a couple of offers for you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Mark. So much useful information there for everybody that's joined the webinar today. And we did have a bunch of questions come in, so we'll definitely get to those. And while we get to those, we have a special offer for everybody here today. We have some really great stuff. Obviously, Mark talked a little bit about our free tools, but we have some other options for you all as well. First, a free live demo of our WordStream Advisor software to learn how to manage your PPC accounts in just 20 minutes a week. We also have the option for a one-on-one AdWords assessment with one of our certified Google AdWords consultants, or maybe you're all set with your PPC management for now. So you can go ahead and choose whichever one of those options is best for you. And while you're doing that, we will get to some of our questions. Okay, so Mark, we have some questions come in right at the start regarding the standard text ads. So are they disappearing? Are they still running? What's the deal with them?
Okay, so obviously the date that you can create new ones or edit existing ones is February 1st, okay? Google hasn't specifically announced a date that they're no longer going to run, but it's fair to assume that Google's not going to keep around old underperforming ads for very long. So some insider knowledge is that while I personally still don't have a date for the day that they die, I do know that Google is updating their API in early March. And early specs of that API do not support fields that you'd see in standard text ads. So the API I'm looking at, or the specs for the API I'm looking at in March, don't support description line 2, or don't support a display URL, whereas it does support things like path fields for ETAs and things. So while I can't give you a definitive date on the day that they go away, it's a fair assumption that they will go away and that Google's looking to make that change fairly quickly. Once we get a more definitive date, don't worry, there will be a blog post, there will be a separate webinar, all of that stuff around that, I'm all too sure. But so on the Google side, I'd rather prepare people for it to die early than to pretend like it's going to be around forever. On the Bing side, Bing is allowing people to edit, or has promised support for standard text ads for the rest of 2016 and for the first quarter of 2017. and they phrase it exactly like that. So that does not say that they are going to stop standard text ads in Q2 of 2017, but it does imply the fact that they're thinking about it. So these product timelines, like I speak to product managers at Google fairly frequently. These product timelines are very frequently in flex, but it's fair to assume that they're looking at timelines fairly quickly to stop support for standard text ads.
Great, thank you.
No problem.
So we also had a question come in that someone has converted over to some ETAs, and they're finding that they're showing a higher click-through rate, lower cost per click, but the conversions are lower than the older. Mm-hmm. Any idea what they could be doing wrong there?
Yeah, so that's a reason why we always recommend keeping that standard text ad running, so that treat this like you would any other A/B test. Sometimes when you create a new ad, you have higher click-through rates, have lower conversion rates. That's always worth thinking about, worth considering when you're declaring a winner and moving on from an older ad. Same thing with expand text ads. I know that when we first started doing it, that was actually that lower conversion rate was a big concern with our clients, and we were working on how to really fix that. What I've discovered from managing this is that sometimes you want to use that additional text to not just offer more reasons why they should engage with the ad, things that will increase click-through rate, but you also want to maybe use that text to add some qualifiers. Things like including price in the ad can serve as two purposes, to not only just inform people and to incentivize people, but if that price point is too high for people, it will deter that kind of traffic away. While not exactly to do with the ad, there's a lot more that you can do these days with demographic targeting on search ads and with RLSA and with audience targeting within your search ads, that you have the ability to decide to filter out that key demo that you would like to show your ads to. So I'd probably encourage people to not just look at conversion rate as a result of the ad, as a result of the new ETA, but also to look at stuff like demo, like RLSA audiences, and really figure out what isn't performing within your account.
Gotcha. Another question regarding the transition. So with the standard text ads, if they're eliminated down the road, will their performance history be removed from the dashboard as well?
That's a very good question. I've never heard of Google getting rid of performance history for something like that. That in the past, like when I think about doing like the enhanced migration way back when, we lost some of our campaigns and we couldn't use some of our older campaigns, but we never lost performance history on them. I would be surprised if Google took away that data. I'm obviously not a Google rep, so I can't promise any of that, but just from handling these migrations in the past, I don't think that you'd lose any performance history.
Great, thanks, Mark. Another question here that we had come in. So regarding URL path, what format is best? So the example here is with used books. Is it better to have used books, used hyphen books, underscores? Any best practice there?
I honestly don't see a best practice, or I haven't experienced one. I'd be really interested to see if people were running tests, and I'd encourage people who are asking that question to run a test with different path fields. What I will say is, obviously, if you're using dynamic keyword insertion, you need to be prepared for keywords that are more than one word, because obviously your path field can't include a space in it. So that's when you really have to make sure that you're using dynamic keyword insertion and that your alternative text is some kind of one word or a hyphen or a combined word like that. If I had to go gut feeling, I'd probably say that the hyphen or the underscore is going to outperform just that combined word that I know I used in my example, just because it physically takes up more space, and special characters tend to outperform regular characters in these ad copy.
Awesome. Okay, and we have time for just one more question. So regarding the transition, once again, are you able to convert the ads into the ETA format, or do you have to recreate them entirely?
So, effectively, you have to create a brand new ad regardless. But if you were to go in the AdWords interface and you were to click on that edit pencil, what it's going to do is it's going to effectively convert that ad for you, where it will take your headline, put it in headline 1, and it will converge your concatenate your 2 description text into a description box. And it's going to ask you for for headline line 2, and to input your path fields. So you can do it like that. You can similarly export all of your data out into Excel and then manually do that concatenate, manually write in those headlines, write in those path fields, etc. But Google, as frustrating as it sounds, and trust me, I'm on your page, I believe that Google should offer some kind of tool for making this migration. Google has pretty much committed to not migrating this for us. So there will still be that manual input from you that's required.
Great. Thanks so much, Mark. So that does it for today's webinar. Again, thank you all for joining us. Look out in your inbox. We will be sending an email with a recording of today's presentation as well as a copy of the slides. And definitely stay tuned for future updates from WordStream. Thanks so much, everybody.